How did using reverse psychology save your life? I was 19, working the closing shift at a little convenience store off the highway. The place was dead after midnight. Maybe one customer every half hour if I was lucky. Most nights I'd sit behind the counter, scrolling on my phone and counting down the minutes until I could lock up. One night, about 15 minutes before closing, a guy walked in. Nothing about him looked obviously dangerous. Jeans, hoodie, baseball cap. But the second he stepped through the door, something felt off. Maybe it was because he wasn't shopping. He just wandered around the aisles without picking anything up. Then he'd stop and stare at me. Not glance, stare at. I kept telling myself I was overreacting. But after 10 minutes, we were the only two people in the store, and he still hadn't bought a single thing. Then he walked up to the counter. He smiled. Busy night? I laughed nervously. Not really. He looked around. No coworkers? That question hit me like a truck because I didn't have coworkers. I was completely alone. And now he knew it. Every alarm bell in my head started going off. I wanted to call the police. I wanted to run, but I couldn't do either without making it obvious. Then I remembered something my older sister used to do when we were kids. Reverse psychology. Make people want the opposite of what they were planning. So I took a breath and did something weird. I rolled my eyes dramatically and said, "Great, my manager's gonna be annoyed." The guy frowned. What? I looked toward the back room and said, "He's obsessed with checking the cameras. He keeps calling every 10 minutes, making sure I don't lock up early." That was a complete lie. There was no manager, and nobody was watching. But suddenly the guy wasn't looking at me anymore. He was looking at the security cameras. The cameras that barely worked. The cameras I had just convinced him were being monitored live. He forced a laugh. That sounds annoying. "Oh yeah," I said. "He'll probably call again any second." The guy stood there for another few seconds. Then he grabbed a pack of gum, paid for it, and left. The second the door shut, I locked it. My hands were shaking so hard I dropped the keys. I told myself I was being paranoid. Maybe he was harmless. Maybe I imagined the whole thing. Then the next afternoon, a police officer walked into the store. He asked if I worked the night before. I said yes. He showed me a picture. It was the same guy. Turns out, less than an hour after leaving my store, he'd been arrested trying to rob another gas station 2 towns over. The officer asked if anything unusual happened. I thought about it for a second. Then I said, not really, because I didn't want to explain that the only reason he left was because I convinced him someone else was watching.